Welcome to the Stephen McCain podcast, where every week I bring you people doing world-class things in the field of human optimization and performance. This week is all about optimizing your NAD levels, and we are going to have Dr. Jin-Xiong She, who is the founder of Jinfiniti. They make a bunch of really high-end tests, but more specifically, they have a NAD test that you can buy as a consumer that tests your intracellular NAD levels. That's how much NAD you're getting inside the cell. So NAD is very popular. All these supplements, people are taking NAD precursors. Well, how do you know your supplement's working? Well, in this episode, we're going to give you a turnkey solution, a product and a test to completely optimize your levels and to get this biomarker optimized. It is one of the most important, if not most important, biomarkers for you to optimize. Let's do this. Dr. She, thank you so much for coming on the Stephen McCain podcast.
It's really my pleasure to join you, Stephen.
I'm really excited about talking with you because you have become the NAD man. Like, you are a world-class thought leader, and you have a company that is correct me if I'm wrong, is the only company that can measure intracellular NAD. And this is what everyone's using now, right?
That's correct.
Awesome. Maybe if you wouldn't mind taking a few seconds to brag about yourself and your company, tell us what's going on and how awesome you guys are.
Well, thank you. So I usually tell people that I have been an academic scientist for almost 4 decades until about 16 months ago. I have taught and I did research in multiple medical schools in the United States. And I am one of the best founding scientists in not only in the United States, but really all over the world. And it has been a distinct pleasure to be among this group of very distinguished and accomplished scientists. And, after almost 4 decades, I published enough papers, over 400 of them. And, unfortunately, most of the discoveries that the scientists make in the laboratory don't get translated into clinical practice or into products, into services, and they are pretty much wasted. And a lot of the data, and very important data, just stay on the desk of scientists. So I decided that it's time for me to pay back to society and use the knowledge and the skills I have accumulated over the many years, and so that we can develop products and tests that can be used by patients, consumers, or doctors alike. And my goal is really to improve health and extend health span. And I'm selfish. I'm 61 years old. And if I don't take action now, it will probably be too late if I wait for another 10 or 20 years. So the time is now to act. So that's why I decided to quit my academic job and really start a new company. And I went from having 70, 80 scientists working under me to nothing. Me and my wife years ago. But the company Jinfiniti has grown very fast in the last 2 years. That's because we have a bunch of tests and we have some nutraceuticals that really work. And customers love our product, they love our tests, they love our supplements, and it has been fantastic. I don't regret the risky decision I made 16 months ago.
Yeah, you took a risk and it looks like it's paying off. I mean, I have your product, one of your products right here, with me to kind of show the audience that, hey, I use your products and I really like what you're doing. You mentioned the word Healthspan, and it's funny because a couple of years ago, everyone was talking about longevity. And then I think people realized, well, I don't want to just live a long time. I want to feel great the whole time that I'm alive. I want to have the most access to my faculties and my abilities. And so NAD in particular, what I would like to talk to you about is one of those molecules that has the ability to extend health span, right?
Yep.
So, yeah. So maybe if you could just kind of explain what is the simplified version for the listeners of what NAD is and why it's so important.
Sure. I'll make 2 points. The first one is I want to comment on what you said about health span, and then I will go into NAD if you allow me.
Yeah, of course.
So, as you said, longevity, even immortality are the dream of everyone. Maybe not everyone, of many people since ancient time, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think that immortality, especially, is achievable at the moment. I wish we can, but that's not something that I'm dreaming for. Longevity, of course, we want to have longevity, but as you said, if you live for 200 years in bed, who cares? We want to be vital, we want to be active, we want to be productive, we want to enjoy life, we want to contribute to humankind. And the only way you can do it is to have your health. So the goal ought to be expand the number of healthy years that we can live, that we can be productive, that we can have a good time. That's really called health span. I think extension of health span is much more important than extending lifespan. Even though I would love to extend lifespan as well, but we can extend lifespan by extending health span. So, in summary, everyone should care about health span, and once we can extend the health span, then we can try to see whether we can further extend lifespan. The maximum lifespan is actually probably around at least 130, 150 years. We don't live to 130s or 150s because we die of major diseases or we die of injuries, accident. And so if we extend health span, we extend lifespan by definition. So that's the point I want to emphasize a little more.
Yeah, thank you.
There are many different ways that one can extend health span. As Jinfiniti, we advocated a program that we call TAO, TAO. All right. So what is TAO? For those who understand a little bit of the Oriental, especially Chinese ancient philosophy, it's called Taoism. That's a little too complicated, but I think it's a fascinating philosophy that can be applied to many things, and it was applied to life science. But Tao for Jinfiniti stands for test, act, and optimize.
Yeah.
And this is a loop. Okay, it's an iterative process. So you have to test in order to know what you are deficient in. And you have to test in order to know whether your actions are working or not. So testing is very important. It's the first step. With testing, you can act in a very personalized, very precise way to achieve better outcome. And optimize, of course, is with your actions and the data, you adjust what you do. For example, you may to change your lifestyle. You may have to become more active. You may have to choose certain types of exercise. You may have to take certain types of supplement and how much supplement you should take, and so on. So test, act, optimize, how.
Yeah.
Now, that's great. In reality, how you really get the Tao program to work well. And we have 8 pillars of Tao. That stands for 8P. All right. So I will have my screen up so I can be reminded of what are 8 pillars. If I'm looking on the left, I'm looking at my computer screen, so I don't forget.
Sure.
Let me give it to you. You want to be proactive, predictive, you want to prioritize, and you want to be preventive. And then you want the precision, you want the personalization, and you want to be parallel approaches, more holistic. And finally, you need persistence. You cannot do it one day and then forget about it for 2 more days or 3 more days. You got to do it every day, okay? Your actions have to be persistent if you want to achieve extend health span. So with these 8 pillars, if you do it, and I think you can easily extend your health span by a decade or 2 or even 3. And it's possible to live well beyond 100 years. And if you really do it as we preach, right?
Yeah.
It's not easy. It's hard.
Yeah. Let me just jump in on here for a second, because in the past, it was always, when it came to health, it was, who's this famous person and what are they taking? I'm going to do that. And then we start moving in more to, okay, what's the research showing? What is the, double blind control studies, peer review, like this says that everyone should do this. Now we're moving into personalized medicine, where we are realizing that everyone is biochemically a little bit individual, or a lot in some circumstances, right? Yeah. And so having, testing and then implementing and retesting and re-implementing until you get to an optimal state is, I think, right now what we're all moving towards. And I just met Brian Johnson, who is probably at the top of the food chain in this, right? He's testing all 78 of his organs, and
it's the most tested person in human history. No doubt about it.
Yeah. And every time I've gone about doing things, there are some things that you can do that you say, I feel a lot better after I do this. But there's a lot of things that you can't feel, like your diet. I mean, you can feel your diet if you're eating something that you have a sensitivity to, but you have to get in there and look under the hood, and you've got to see how this is affecting my biomarkers, right? And it's so awesome because now there's all these tests that are coming to the consumer, not just the medical side. Like your tests I can buy, and I have access to these, I saw that you also have a senolytic test. I mean, you got some great things that are coming out. I used to just know you as the NAD guy, but now I'm seeing that you're flushing out this entire process. So this is amazing. And I think it is anybody that is going to really say, I am committed to my health, this process has to be sequestered. It's got to be a part of your regimen, right?
Yeah. So we at Jinfiniti, we have two programs, and one is a basic program that I call NAD optimization program, and I'll explain to you why, and that's important. And the second program is called longevity or health span extension program. And so if you want to extend health span, you want to follow the principles that I was talking about, and you have to test a larger panel of biomarkers. We have very carefully curated 20-some biomarkers that will give you a very good overall assessment of your current health and where you might be heading into in the future. So the goal is to identify suboptimal health issues that someone has right now, and you take actions to reverse the course to prevent major diseases in the future. So that will probably take a much longer time for us to talk about, because you want to focus on NAD. Let's talk about the NAD optimization today. Maybe you can get me on another time. We can talk about
absolutely
much broader term. Now, so if you allow me, why we have this NAD optimization program. And that's because NAD is probably the most important life molecule. Probably not one of them. It's probably the most important one. Now, what is NAD? NAD is a tiny compound that our body can make, and that it's involved in almost all biological processes that are going on in our body. That it's called a coenzyme. The coenzyme is something that helps many other proteins to function. And in the case of NAD, the function of over 500 different proteins requires the help from NAD. Without NAD, these enzymes wouldn't function at all, or at least don't function very well. So among all these proteins and biological processes, the most important one is the production of cellular energy in the form of ATP. Many of your listeners probably know what is ATP, but if they don't know, ATP is like the gasoline of your car, and that's what makes your engine work, right? So ATP powers our cells and our body. And without ATP, we don't have energy and we don't function.
So basically, NAD is the bottleneck in the body to produce cellular energy, which is basically how the entire body runs. So it is, okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So that it controls the production of cellular energy. That's the most important function of NAD. That is why when you don't have enough NAD in your body, you feel tired, and you feel you don't have enough energy, and your performance may not be at the peak. So with the optimum level of NAD, the production of energy is optimized. And unfortunately, NAD levels decline with age. And by our late 20s and early 30s, our NAD level is already at about 50% of what we used to have in our teenage years. And by our 50s and 60s, we're dropping to 1/3 to 1/4 of what we normally have. So that's a pretty deep decline of NAD levels with age.
Yeah. When would you recommend?
Kind of widely known.
Okay. When would you recommend somebody start testing and maybe implementing a NAD supplement? Around when they turn 30? 20s?
Yes and no. Let me explain to you why.
Okay.
That's the common recommendation from experts is, well, you want to test and you want to supplement when you are at your middle age or in your later on. That's actually not quite true. That's because about 25% of very young people, toddlers, even infants and teenagers, are deficient in NAD. I have two young children. One's almost 7 years old. The other one's a little over 2. My 2-year-old has optimum NAD level. She's fine. But my 7-year-old is already suboptimal for NAD level. So we kind of knew that 25% of people are deficient in NAD based on the extensive testing we have done. So once we know that her level was low, we put her on the supplement because supplement is very safe. My wife was on it when she was pregnant with our 2-year-old, and she was on it during breastfeeding. And it's a very safe nutrient. It's a nutrient. Okay? It's like a food. You have
it's a B vitamin, right? It's a derivative of a B vitamin.
It's a vitamin B, and it's very safe, and it's a newer form of vitamin B. And so the example that I often use for people to understand is vitamin D, right? Now just think about it. We supplement newborns with vitamin D. All right. I think every parent, at least in the industrialized countries, in countries that have some basic health care, every family, every parent is supplementing their infant with vitamin D drops. Okay, we have to do the same with NAD because some infants are already deficient in NAD level.
Is that a genetic thing?
There is a genetic component. We're still trying to understand it. And we do see that Asians, Chinese, Vietnamese, especially Vietnamese, and Koreans, Indians, tend to have a lower level of NAD than Caucasian.
Interesting.
So there has to be a genetic component, because if you look at the Chinese or Indians in America, they will have lower level than Caucasians in America.
Yeah.
So it's not purely a lifestyle or environmental issue. There is a genetic component.
Do you think it's related to methylation? Because you need, some people have that MTHFR gene mutation in those cultures, and do you need proper methylation in order to make NAD? I assume you do. No, you don't.
No, that's a common misunderstanding from a lot of NAD supplement takers, because they hear from people that you should take a TMG, methyl group, and they think that the TMG has something to do with making NAD and so on. That's a totally misunderstood concept.
Interesting.
TMG is not going to help you to make NAD. It actually may decrease the production of NAD. The reason that some people may want to supplement with TMG is because the broken down element of NAD is a compound called nicotinamide. Okay, it's a component of the NAD molecule. Now, nicotinamide is excreted out of our body through urine, and after it's methylated. So methylated nicotinamide is excreted. And so if you have a lot of NAD, a lot of nicotinamide, you may deplete your methyl groups because of the excretion.
Okay.
That's why some people say, I get the question all the time. Do I need to take a TMG? And because, some experts recommend taking a TMG. I really don't know how important it is to take a TMG. And I personally don't take it. And I don't think we are really deficient in methadone. But you can take some from time to time. It's okay. It's probably not so detrimental. My philosophy is you don't want to take too much stuff that you don't need. I try to take the minimum amount that I need to stay healthy and to stay at my best performance. And I don't think the TMG is one compound that I want to start with. And I may take some from time to time. Now, if you are really deficient in methyl groups, and your homocysteine may be increased. So if you monitor your homocysteine and it's in the optimum range, and the need for TMG may not be so high. But I'm not against taking some if they want to.
Yeah, and your homocysteine, you should get that value at least once on your annual blood lab, right? Because that's a cardiovascular risk.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have established that NAD is the bottleneck, and in terms of your cellular energy production, it declines as we age. Some people inherently just don't make it enough. So even if you're a baby, you might want to have your baby tested, or you should be testing at any age, right? Now, Chris, am I correct in assuming that it's kind of a double whammy when it goes down too, because it's not only that you're not getting the energy, but you're also lacking the energy to make the bodily functions that actually repair the body. So you're getting less energy to build the infrastructure, which takes care of your body. So you're getting, it's like a double whammy in a way, right?
It is. I mean, in biology, everything is in a loop, or we call it's a network. Everything's interconnected.
Yeah.
Now, when someone is deficient in NAD, I mean, what happens is you tend to have higher inflammation, and you also tend to have higher senescence. And I mean, I don't know how many of your listeners understand what the senescence. Senescence are basically the production of aging cells, the zombie cells. They don't function properly, but they refuse to die. They sit there and secrete a bunch of molecules that are really bad, mostly inflammatory proteins and other compounds. And they travel all over your body and make your healthy cells aging faster. So basically bad stuff.
Yeah, it's just a cell that's forgotten what its job was. So it's just sitting there and just releasing inflammatory.
Speaking out of bad stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you also tend to have higher oxidative stress or free radicals, and these free radicals can damage your DNA, can damage your protein, can damage your cells, and cause all kinds of problems. So it's just a loop that goes on and on and on. And if you have higher inflammation, then that will help to deplete your NAD further. It just goes down and down and down.
So you don't age in a sort of a linear fashion. You age in an exponential fashion when you're deplete. Okay, got it. So you had this test, and it's the only test in the world that measures the intracellular NAD?
It's the only test that can be done for consumers.
Got it.
In some research laboratories, they can test for NAD, and the problem is those tests are expensive. They cannot be done remotely, and most importantly, no one else, other than us, has established what's the optimum range, and what level you should have. It's not just the test that we have, and more importantly, is the information that we have accumulated. Before we got into this field, a few companies have tried to develop a test and establish pretty much what we have established now. They failed pretty miserably because there are a few issues that you have to solve. Number one, NAD is not very stable. You have to find a way to stabilize it so you can ship it from the remote location and to the laboratory. And even if someone can test it as we do, but they still have not done enough research to know how to interpret the data they have. Because what tested in our laboratory was in a different laboratory can be very different because the tests have not been calibrated among the different laboratories, right? We are setting the gold standard. I mean, anyone who comes up with a test and want to push it to the market, ideally, they want to come to us and calibrate their test to what we have. Because we have a tremendous amount of information that's required to interpret the testing result. It's not just the test. It's how you interpret the data. Does the data make any sense?
Yeah, even like a lot of people may not know this, but certain doctors will only use certain blood labs because they know they're used to their results. It's not just I like the way the information is presented, but I'll get a different reading at this LabCorp versus Quest. And so a doctor will say, no, go to this one specifically because then it's standardized to what I know because that's the information I've been looking at for the last few years. So you're setting you're sort of setting the bar and saying this is what everything the yardstick, everything should be measured against.
Exactly. I mean, ideally, anyone who comes up with a test or want to do a test, I'm not claiming that your NAD is mine. No one else can test. I mean, everyone should be welcome to test. But at least there's a community that calibrate all the tests. So we are all talking about the same thing. So the consumer understand what information they are getting. As a scientist, I know how to do it. That's what I used to do. And there are programs that we can set up for us to test and to compare to what we have. At least that we will provide similarly useful information to the patient and to consumers. And otherwise, it's going to be very chaotic. But I know we're at the very early stages of testing NAD, and this will happen, and it must happen. I'm sure that something will work out by itself.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you're obviously made a good choice of something to test and do what you're doing because this is, like you said, an important life molecule, if not the most important. Let's talk about how simple your test is, because somebody, when they think test, they're like, this thing is really simple. It's an at-home test. You just prick your finger, you put a little drop of blood on a little sheet of paper in a little area, and then you just mail it to you guys. In a few days, you get an email that says, here's your levels, right? And then it says, take more of this supplement or take less of it, basically, right?
Yeah, that's how simple it is. And, we send at-home testing kit to the person who wants to take the test. And you prick the finger, get a couple drops of blood, and mail it back to us in a few days. You got your result. And what? Look, I'm I work for my personal time to talk to almost every single customer who wants the information. Okay, I know it's not sustainable, but I enjoy it. Because I want everyone to understand how to do it, what's the best way to get their NAD optimized. And it's not you need to get your NAD level higher, but we have a small percentage of customers who got their NAD level too high, right? And we don't want the level to be too high either. We don't really know how high it's too high, but we have some idea that we want to stay careful, cautious, that don't overdo. You don't want to overdo anything.
Yeah, you don't want to be super physiologic about it. There's no one in existence that's ever had that level that's been recorded, and all of a sudden you think it's great to be at a 250 or whatever past the optimal levels. When I met you at A4M briefly, and I talked to a lot of people. I love talking to scientists. I love talking to doctors. Where you were like very friendly, and I felt like immediately that I could connect with you. And you were like, "Yeah, go get the test." And here's this, and I remember I asked you, like, you were like, "Here," and I was like, "Oh, how much show you for that?" You're like, "Just take it, do it, just do it." And I could tell this is somebody who's invested in what they do. So anyone listening knows, hey, if you want to do this, which I think you should, just know that there's a person behind the website that is actually there for you, that cares and will make sure that you get your levels optimized. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I believe in this stuff, and I believe in getting everyone healthier. And I do give out a lot of free supplements and free products, and I think I believe that someone who can afford it should pay a little more, so I can give them more free stuff and do more research and help for the ones who cannot really afford it. And that's how we bring the price down. And I come from a communist country, but I'm not a communist. But I do believe in helping the less fortunate people. So if you are able to afford it, pay the full price, so I can give you more free stuff and do more research and try to help everyone.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I love it. And I will make sure to put links to your website, the test, in the show notes. I do. So now we know how easy it is to test. And unless you want to talk more about the test, but let's talk about your product, because there is a lot of information out there that can wrong foot or just confuse people about how do I raise my NAD levels? Like, can I go to a place and do an IV and get NAD, or is that too big to get into the cell? Should I use nicotinamide riboside? Should I use nicotinamide mononucleotide? Like, how do I know how to, what is the best way to do this? And maybe there's multiple ways, right?
Yeah. So now the first thing is there are potentially many different ways one can elevate the NAD level. And the difference is what's more efficient, what works better, what's more convenient, and what provides more clinical benefits. So we can run down the list very quickly. The very popular one is what you have mentioned, NAD. Now, NAD is a molecule that provides the function. Well, the first thought is, why don't we just give people NAD? Because we can make NAD in the fraction, right? It's possible to do. And we actually have been doing that, not way in the community, has been doing that for
years,
at least 20, 30 years. And the popular way has been to give NAD through IV. There are many reasons that we don't have time to get into. And NAD IV has actually provided benefits to certain individuals, and primarily the ones who have addiction, who have some neurological conditions, and also certain infections, like Lyme's disease, even with COVID, and some non-COVID patients are actually getting some benefit from NAD through the IV. So I'm not saying that NAD IV is useless, doesn't do anything. But the misconcept is that the NAD IV works or provides a benefit because it allows you to have higher NAD level in your cells. That's totally, completely wrong. And no one knew it until we have done the clinical study. Okay? So in this clinical study, we had 10 people who did 5 sessions of NAD IV, each time with 750 milligrams of NAD. That's, by the way, quite a lot. After 10 days, 5 sessions, the NAD level in the cells did not move at all. And then we give them our NMN formulation. After 2 weeks, the wall went up more than doubled and went to the what we call the green zone or the optimum zone. Now, so if your goal is for longevity or health span, and getting the NAD IV is probably not the best idea because it's expensive, inconvenient, and it may give you some temporary relief. It does not help your cells in the long run. So that's not the right way to elevate the NAD level unless you have, some of the conditions I mentioned.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I want to get across. And then many people are getting injections of NAD,
like a
subcutaneous injection.
Like a sub-Q injection, right?
The sub-Q injection. And some people are getting patches of NAD, and it's becoming somewhat popular.
And I've done all those, by the way. So keep going. I have,
yeah. Sub-Q NAD injection and actually elevate your NAD a little bit, but it does not get NAD level into the optimum range.
Okay.
Patches don't really work that much at all.
Okay.
And so
it's so weird. I don't want to cut you off but I did the patches for a little while because you could get like what appeared to be a massive dose, and you just wear it on your arm. Like I used to wear it right here for 12 hours. And I don't know if it was a placebo effect or whatever, but I was like, I just felt like I had a lot of energy from those things. And I was like, it feels like it's working. But then again, I wasn't testing anything. So it goes back to what you're talking about. It's like at the end of the day, yes, maybe there's some benefit to, I also did the sub-Q injections, but the problem with all the NAD products is you got to keep them cold. It's unstable at room temperature, right? So unlike a precursor, like an NMN or an NR like that, you can just have it sitting in the shelf. So anyways, you were saying there's all these different modalities.
Yeah. I mean, so there are different modalities and people are welcome to try everything they want to try. But I can almost guarantee you, and once they experience the right product, they are now going back to the patches, to the injections, or to the IV, and very, very few people do. And we have thousands and thousands of people who have done those things, and once they have used our product, they don't go back to those because many issues. The best way to elevate or optimize NAD level is through the precursors or the building blocks that our cells can use to make the NAD molecule. And now you mentioned the NRs, nicotinamide riboside, NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide. Many people are asking, is NMN better than NR, or vice versa? I can tell you both of these two precursors work in terms of elevating NAD. I think they are actually comparable. I like NMN better because of the added function from NMN that NR doesn't seem to provide. So that's the first point. The second point is, if we are only taking NMN alone, that can elevate NAD level in about 40 to 50% of the user, but does not seem to provide as much clinical help as the formulation that we have in the vitality boost. So in the vitality boost, we have 4 ingredients. We have NMN, about 50% is NMN, and the other 3 ingredients are creatine monohydrate, we have a D-ribose, and we have nicotinamide. Now, with these 4 ingredients, somehow, magically, we can elevate NAD level for about 90% of the user. And more importantly, certainly 80% of the people are getting noticeable clinical benefits. That can be physical, physiological, and it can be at a performance level. It can be actually sexual in performance. It's something that I have
nothing wrong with that, right?
Yeah, I cannot take the credit because my wife, who is a chemist, and she actually came up with the formulation.
Oh wow, that's great.
I'm telling everyone the wonderful thing that she did.
That's great. I mean, that's so cool that you have a team with your wife and that you guys can work together on a project like this. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So, we initially did not. We were trying to solve a different problem. Now, many of your listeners, if they use NMN or NR, they may know. So, a good proportion of NMN users do feel some headaches or sleepiness. And if you look at the internet, that's one very common comment for side effects associated with NMN. So we were trying to come up with a formulation that can counteract those side effects from NMN.
Interesting.
Yes. So with the formulation, we achieved that, and then unexpectedly, we're getting more this additional benefit. And now I understand how it works. Not only we are increasing your NAD level, we are increasing your ATP production, we are also helping you to store the ATP that you don't need. We are not moving. We are not exercising. Now, it's like a battery, right? So you charge your battery when you your battery for ATP when you don't need them so much, and then when you exercise, when you have physical activity, the ATP is released from the battery to make your body function.
Okay.
That's something that I didn't realize. I only figured it out about 3 weeks ago, by the way.
So you kind of like backed into this thing. You threw this formulation together, it worked, and then you had to go and try to research to figure out why it was working so well.
Yeah, I'm a scientist. Okay, I want to know how it works and how I can improve. If I know how it works, I can find a way to improve it. And now we know it only works for about 90% of the people. We're doing research to figure out how we can help the other 10%.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're working on the other 10% now.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care. No, I cannot get 100% people's NAD up. And we have about 10% that I think we have some ideas as to why it doesn't work for them. And we should have a solution pretty soon.
Fantastic. Well, I mean, I love your product, and I mean, I'm a pretty optimal guy, and I stay physically fit. I do a ton of things. I mean, we wouldn't even have time for me to list all of them. But for me, I'm bought and sold into the idea that this is something that should be managed, and I'm very thankful that we have someone like you who's laid out the tool and basically said, look, here it is. Not only can you test it, but you can take this product that I've me and my wife have invented to optimize it, and then just keep retesting. Let me ask you this. So let's say I get optimal and I get my test and it's great. Are there certain things or times when I might need a little extra? Like if I go through a stressful period or if I'm pushing really hard in the gym, like say I do like a new program, are there like telltale things like that?
You're absolutely right. So let me tell you what I do. So usually I take 2 scoops a day, and one in the early part of the day, and another one right before bedtime, because it helps me to sleep better. And that's why I take one before bedtime. I usually take the first dose after lunch, and usually by 5, 6 o'clock I work very hard, and by 5, 6 o'clock I get a little tired. I forgot to take my dose after lunch today, so that's why before I came on to your show, I said I need to get a dose to keep me awake. So I got a dose, and I'm fine now. But on the weekend, when I play tennis, I'm a tennis player. I take an extra dose. Before I go to my tennis game, I take one dose in the very early morning, and then after lunch I take another one. So that actually helps me quite a bit. So,
yeah, that's great.
If I don't have a good night of sleep, I feel not at my best, I may take an extra dose. I can feel the difference after about 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because I have a relationship with a lot of products and molecules that I can tell, like I've done them enough to where I can sort of keep myself in line, like, oh, I need a little more of this, or when you start feeling like, I might be getting sick, a little extra vitamin D, like there's certain things you just kind of know. But I'm going to take your approach, and for me, it's like I will say, okay, I know that scoop in the morning, scoop in the evening kind of keeps me in the optimal range, but if I have like a sleep stressful situation, or I got my ass kicked in the gym or whatever, like I might do a little extra. I'm going to take that approach. Yeah.
I think that, I mean, you got to know your body. I mean, you know your body, and you have to know your body well. And if you know you're not at the best, and taking a little extra can really help.
Yeah. Yeah. Did we miss anything? Because I feel like, somebody who's listening to this has a really good idea now of the importance of NAD. They realize that, hey, every day that goes by over the course of years, your levels are going down and you should do something about it. They know you have a test. They know you have a product. And so I'm just wondering if there's anything that would help any of the listeners, feel like they've got their head wrapped around this.
Yeah, I mean, I think one point that we haven't really discussed is, if you get your NAD level to the 50s or 60s, I mean, we require at least 40. Okay, but 40 is the bare minimum.
Okay.
Most of the people who experience a clear, noticeable difference are those who have NAD levels above the 50.
Got it. Okay.
Some people can get a noticeable improvement in the body, but most if you tell me, I mean, I have customers calling me very quickly after one dose, even actually one dose.
Wow.
I would feel more energetic.
Wow.
I know the NAD level will be in the 50s, 60s, or 70s. And
yeah. What's the upper limit?
If you're taking NMN, you don't notice the difference, you need to talk to me and experience what we have. If you are not willing to pay, I may even give you a free bottle.
Be careful. I mean, look, that's fantastic that, you're that kind of person.
I actually do it. It's not that I'm just talking about it. I actually do it. I cannot do it for everyone. Okay, I mean, being realistic.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of
if
fake
someone
products out there. There's a lot of fake NMN. A lot of people have done studies on this. They actually went and tested it, and it was just garbage. I mean, I always tell people, do not buy your supplements on Amazon. I mean, Amazon's good for certain things, toilet paper and garbage bags and things like that. But don't buy your supplements on there. Go to a reputable source like Dr. She, and he. So in a way, the levels are kind of similar to vitamin D, right? Because
exactly.
Okay, so would 100 be sort of the maximum cap you'd want to be at?
The 100 is kind of the current cap, but we have about 5% of the customers who got it to between 100 and 150.
Okay.
I don't know, and I'm not sure 150 is really bad. But I'm a very cautious guy, right? I don't want anyone to overdo it until we have more data. But I have a customer, Canadian lady, and who has Parkinson's disease, and she's actually we have testimonial from her on our website. She has Parkinson's disease, and without fall and she got her level into the 120s, but she was getting great benefit. I'm not going to tell her to reduce the dose to get it below 100 because she's benefiting from the level she had, and I really don't know that between 100 and 150 is really bad. I settled it 100 just to be safe, to be cautious, and I have no evidence that 150 would be bad.
Yeah. What's the highest you've seen? 250?
250. I have one guy at 250. He did not have much problem at all. And then I have a bunch of people around 150. I mean, they are fine. But usually I say, you may want to save some money and take a little less, you save some money.
Because if you're going to be on it for life, there's no reason to start going crazy with it. So, I mean, I keep my vitamin D levels around 60. So I would imagine that's probably, probably.
That's what I have. My vitamin D is at 65. My NAD is at 65.
Yeah, I think that sounds about good.
I'm perfectly fine. If you're in the 50s and the 60s, there's no reason to take more to get it higher. But if you are taking a reasonable amount, 1,000 milligrams or net, and you're in a little over 100, I would say, stay there.
Yeah, yeah.
Unless you feel something that's not doing right.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, obviously, hopefully somebody, if they've gone this far to test their NAD levels, they're also doing their annual blood labs and testing other things and making sure that, I always say, go after what's going to kill you first. So you got to know, because if I could live to 130, but this thing at 90 is going to kill me at 90, I need to know that, right?
You stole my line. So my line is...
Oh, is that yours?
No, exactly. My line is, you want to identify your weakest link.
Yes, exactly.
You want to know what's going to kill you first. So
yeah, I always tell people that because it's so important. I'm like, there's no point in optimizing all this other stuff if this is going to kill you, and you're just. And I tell people, be a student. Like if you know you have this propensity, like maybe you have a genetic thing that for heart disease or whatever it is. You need to be a student of that. Do not outsource that to the doctor. Like work with doctors, but you need to meet them halfway. You got to be a student of it because it's your life at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, for someone who has a very complicated health history, I would highly recommend staying functional medicine or at least integrative medicine doctor. instead of just
For sure.
specialists. And I was a professor in medical school for a long time, right? I helped to train large numbers of doctors. I mean, they are trained to specialize. They are experts
Yeah.
in their own little niche.
Yes.
They don't think outside of their own specialty because it's not their job.
Yeah.
But as a person, we are not just a liver or a heart or a kidney.
Yeah.
We are a whole person. When you have a health problem, very often, the whole body is affected. The whole body is not functioning properly.
Yeah.
You got to have someone who is looking at how your whole body is functioning and how you tackle the entire problem systematically.
Yes.
Not just, we're going to treat your kidney today, and you speak another doctor, I'm going to treat your heart, but all these like interrelating, all these issues have a set of common root causes. You have to attack the root causes, not just the symptoms.
Exactly.
And very often, our doctors are trained to tackle the symptoms, not the root causes.
Yeah, because they're all like, the saying, everything to a hammer is a nail, right? They only see it in one way. And I tell people, because I help a lot of people, and I tell them, first of all, let's get your basics dialed in: your sleep, your nutrition, your exercise, your stress management, and then managing your environmental toxic load. And then let's get you out of the sick care system and let's get you to a functional medicine or integrated physician. Those are the people that can optimize you. Those are the people that seek to find the root cause of what is causing everything, not just giving you your pill. And the few times that I watch TV and I see commercials of all these medications and you see all the side effects and you're like, God, we're living in this this society that they just want their pill. And, at the end of the day, I know it costs money. You have to go out of pocket a lot of times because the insurance companies don't work with these types of physicians. But you're going to pay for it anyways in the long run. And most importantly, you're going to pay for it with your life. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
Yeah, I knew we had a connection. I knew there was I bet you if we kept talking, like we would find more and more like similarities in our philosophy, And I really appreciate you coming on. I mean, it was a real honor to have you on the podcast, and I think that this was super informative for the listeners. And selfishly, I would love to try your other program and then get on a call with you where we, like a little bit more advanced testing, because I'm someone, I will do it by the book. I will literally like, and so if you're interested in something like that, I'm all ears and I'm game.
Absolutely. I will send you our aging SOS test.
Awesome.
We'll get you tested because for anyone interested in longevity, high performance, the aging SOS test is the one that you want to do.
Yes,
and
awesome.
It's a little pricey because we tested over 20 different biomarkers that many of them are not available anywhere else. We have to spend a lot of time and money to develop the test.
Yeah.
But the amount of information you gain from the panels are just so incredible. And so that's a lot of the biohackers are kind of shooting the dots, right?
Yeah.
One thing that's really important before I go is if you're a biohacker, just listen to me. And many of the biohackers that have walked away are actually causing more harm than good by doing what they are doing without the proper testing and information.
Yeah.
The common problem is kidney toxicity. Kidney is the organ that clears all the drugs, all the stuff you take that your body doesn't need. If you take 120 different supplements and not other stuff, your kidney has to work very hard to get rid of them. Unfortunately, we are seeing a lot of suboptimal kidney function, and it's not good. I don't want to see it. Get tested with us or with other providers. Kidney function is part of annual physical exam, or should be part of it. You can get the information. And if you don't, you can talk to me and we can get it tested. But if you can get it for free or paid by insurance, by all means, right? I help people to save money.
Yeah, well, thank you for that caveat, because that is a nice piece of insider information, that a lot of people can just be throwing a lot of stuff down the hatch and not thinking about it's all being filtered through my kidneys, right? Maybe even my liver too. You have to look at your liver enzymes. I'm definitely interested in your products because I got to keep up with Brian Johnson. I'm actually older than him. And
Brian Johnson is actually on my program.
Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fantastic.
He's taking my test. He's taking our NAD product, and I hope I'm one of the 30 doctors besides. We are featured on Brian Johnson's website, and he recommends what we do.
Well, I'm recommending what you guys do. I will be featuring you on my website, and I'll put everything that we talked about in the show notes. Really appreciate your time and your information, because my goal is not just health span, it's fit span. I want to have a life where I can be physically fit and do all the things that I know how to do and be active, So your product is a sort of a cornerstone in that process for me. So thank you for what you do, and thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time and your knowledge.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really enjoyed our conversation, and best wishes to you and your listeners.
Thank you. So everyone is listening, check out the show notes to get all the information for everything we talked about. I give it my highest recommendation. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we will catch you on the next one. Stay healthy, everyone.